You know when you're waiting on some important news, a test result or a job application, and then the call comes at the most unexpected time? Well, that's what happened to A. She was at the vet with her cat.
And I pulled out my phone to start taking notes for what the vet was telling me when I saw the Gmail notification that USCIS had taken action on my case.
USCIS is U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. A had lived in the U.S. without permanent legal status since she was 2. Earlier this year, she applied for a green card after marrying her husband, a U.S. citizen. The email she got at the vet's office was everything she had hoped for.
I just gasped, and she's like, "What's wrong?" And I told her, this might be TMI. I applied for my green card, and I think they just approved it.
A says so much was going on in her head reading that news. Relief, excitement, and exhaustion.
That lack of autonomy has been really hard, throughout my entire life, with such a lack of ability to make my own decisions. It just really ticks me off. I feel so many things and nothing at the same time, because it's just so hard, I think, to process years of built up emotion. I want to cry and I don't know what it is.
I'm Jimmy Gutierrez. This is Status Pending, a podcast from WUWM, Milwaukee's NPR. In this series, we're going to look at how our immigration system works and doesn't, and the impact it has on the people who are going through it. That brings us back to A. She's 27 and lives in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and we're not using her real name because even with this approval, her immigration status is still vulnerable. Reporter Emily Files takes it from here.
A's family is originally from León, Guanajuato in Mexico. The journey here started with her dad. He struggled to financially support his family, so in 1998, he came to the U.S. to work. But he left Mexico without telling his wife.
And then once he made it across the border and got to Wisconsin, he called her and said, "Hey, I'm in the U.S., I'm not coming back, at least for a good while. I'm going to start sending you money."
2 years later, A's mom followed her husband. A smuggler helped her cross the border. In all, it was a group of 5 people. A's mom, her 3 young daughters, who were 2, 4, and 7, and A's aunt, who was only 18 years old and 6 months pregnant.
My mom is a very, strong person. She prides herself in, not crying. So she tells this story a little bit nonchalantly, and I don't think that it's so nonchalant. I think her way of storytelling is really informed by wanting to protect our feelings, and I think over the time she's just been really desensitized to it.
A, her mom, and sisters reunited with her dad in Milwaukee, and that's where they've been ever since. Growing up, A knew that she and her family were undocumented.
I think when I was really young, I had this idea that I would never drive and I would never have a real job. My life was just going to be like my mom's.
But when A was a teenager, everything changed.
When DACA came out, it was this golden ticket.
DACA is Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. It's an Obama-era policy that allowed immigrants who were brought to the U.S. as children to apply for a sort of temporary permission to live and work here. It gave young immigrants like A chance at some normalcy.
Once I turned 16 and was of legal, working age, I threw a fit. And I was I really need my work authorization. I need a driver's license. I'm the youngest. I was the first one of my sisters to get a driver's license. I think I really put my parents through hell because I would throw real fits, and I just wanted my way.
That is one example of A's persistence. Even though she's the youngest child, she's been a leader helping her family navigate the immigration system.
My sister A is a very strong woman. That does not take no for an answer.
This is A's older sister. She's 29, the middle child out of the 3. We're calling her S because her immigration status also leaves her vulnerable. Between the two sisters, A is more outspoken. S is more reserved. A is a big thrifter. She likes restoring vintage purses and shoes. She's also really into photography. S channels her energy and her stress into exercise, like hiking and weightlifting.
I would describe myself as a very happy but anxious person. And I bring up the word anxious to describe myself because I do think my status has a lot to do with it. It's always put me, like, I'm always on edge regarding my status and, like, potentially being, like, deported or, like, somebody in my family being deported.
The sisters were able to lean on each other as they went through the next step in their immigration journey together, applying for green cards. They both married U.S. citizens around the same time, just months apart from each other in 2024. A didn't expect their timelines to line up like that.
My sister was in her relationship a lot longer than I was, but she was younger when she met her now husband. So I think like it was just more of a youthful relationship for a long time until they were ready for that conversation of marriage. And I met my now husband a little bit later in my life where I was, ready to settle down and get married. And it coincidentally lined up that our marriages happened at the same time.
Getting married and planning a wedding, it's already life-changing and stressful enough. But on top of that, the sisters' immigration status loomed over them. Both couples' wedding plans were affected by it, but in different ways. A says her dream wedding would have been in Vegas with an Elvis impersonator involved. But she and her fiancé decided against that because of the cost. They had done the math and learned that the green card process cost thousands of dollars.
So we decided to elope, and we were supposed to elope in Door County on Valentine's Day. But when Trump won the 2024 election, he was really panicked.
Her fiancé was panicked that Trump might change immigration policy during his second term and make it more difficult for A to get a green card.
We wanted to submit my application for my green card before he took office. So we got married in December, a couple months before. And his wedding band actually still has February 14th engraved on it. We still haven't fixed it.
While A's dream wedding would have included an Elvis impersonator, S was more traditional. She wanted a big Catholic wedding. But in order to make it official more quickly, she and her husband got married in a small civil ceremony first, in March of 2024. They planned to do the big Catholic ceremony farther down the road.
Like my sister mentioned, my husband, her husband was worried about her legal status, and so was mine. So that was our priority. So we knew we couldn't do both at the same time to have our religious and civil ceremony together. And so that was the solution that we decided on.
Both couples were worried about Trump, and they expected the green card process to take a long time. Here's A.
We were both really motivated by this really common perception that any green card application will take years and years to be processed. We were in the mindset of let's get in line. Let's just get the applications submitted, and then we can forget about them for years and years and years, and then they'll call us back, and we'll keep on living our lives in the meantime.
Here's what you should know about green cards. The U.S. grants about 1 million of them to immigrants each year. Green card holders are permanent legal residents, one step away from U.S. citizenship. Close to half of green cards go to spouses, children, and parents of U.S. citizens. So A and S got married to U.S. citizens in 2024, but that doesn't mean they automatically got green cards. What comes next is an expensive, complex application process. And even now, the sisters approached things differently. S, the older sister, hired a lawyer.
There's a lot of ways your case can be dismissed for just the minimal error, and I just didn't want to test my luck.
A, the younger sister, the stubborn one, she decided to do it herself. She closely read every government document to see what she would need to make the strongest case. She gathered birth certificates, financial statements, tax returns, DACA authorizations, statements from her and her husband's shared bank account, shared bills. She also gathered proof to show that her relationship with her husband is authentic. For that, she had pictures going back years.
I know that my marriage is honest and true, and I worry that because of whatever documents I can provide that isn't or won't be apparent, or that the person reviewing, because of their preconceived notions, they'll think that I'm lying. I think that's, really anxiety-inducing.
Even with an attorney, S had similar concerns. Would she and her husband get tripped up? Would something they said be used against them?
People mention that they ask you to give your spouse's phone number. I don't know his phone number. He doesn't know mine. We live in, 2025 where you just dial and you don't actually know somebody's phone number. So it was those type of scenarios that triggered that thought.
Both couples submitted their green card applications in January, about 2 weeks apart. In May, both of them received notice they would move on to the next step, an interview at the USCIS office in Milwaukee. The appointment for S was in late June. A's appointment was in early July. When S and her husband showed up for their interview, they got even more anxious because their lawyer was running late. They decided to do it without him. They didn't want to reschedule the appointment. The days after their green card interviews were nerve-wracking for the sisters. They looked to Facebook groups with people going through similar experiences to compare whether it was normal to not hear back right away. S recorded a voice memo about how she was feeling.
I wish I would have just gotten an answer today. I think emotionally I'm just drained and didn't want to go through another stretch of time being anxious and just always checking the mailbox. I wanted more peace of mind.
Even though A's interview happened a few days after her older sister's, she's the one who heard back first, just 8 days after the appointment. That was the email she got when she was at the vet's office with her cat. She was relieved. Meanwhile, S was still waiting. The sister who filed her application first, who hired an attorney. That made her worried. Why hadn't hers been approved yet?
I was just paranoid that my husband and I had answered a question during the interview that, might have thrown my application out. It just created more anxiety.
But the next day, she got her approval too. Even though it felt like an eternity, the sisters' green card process only took about 6 months. But it wouldn't have been as quick of a process if they hadn't done one crucial thing: advance parole. Advance parole is a program that allows certain immigrants with temporary status to leave the U.S. and be legally paroled back in. For DACA recipients, it does something very important. It overrides their initial illegal entry into the U.S. It's like erasing a black mark from your record. Bridget Kuchma is an immigration attorney in Wisconsin. She says an immigrant's entry into the U.S. is key to the green card process. If you entered without permission, it gets complicated.
Let's just give an example. An individual has entered the country 20 years ago, is now married to a U.S. citizen, and their process now, instead of being able to adjust status within 1 to 2 years here in the country, due to the fact they entered without inspection, without parole, without admission, they're now looking at a process that's going to take approximately 6 years and will ultimately lead them to an interview at the U.S. consulate abroad in their home country.
If the sisters hadn't used advance parole, they would have needed to leave the country as part of their green card process.
It creates a forgiveness. It cancels out your uninspected entry.
A was the first of her siblings to use advance parole in 2023 and again in 2024. She helped S get her documents in order to travel on advance parole too, also in 2024. During those trips, they reunited with their grandmother and extended family in Mexico for the first time since they were children. A lot of those family members they hadn't even met before since they left when they were so young. But what about undocumented immigrants who aren't eligible for advance parole? Kuchma says often they have no good choices. Many would have to leave the U.S. for 10 years or more to qualify for a visa. Some don't even have that option.
So a lot of little caveats that affect people, and when we hear this misnomer, this absolute lie, just get in the line, do it the right way. Well, the line is not a line. It's a zigzag puzzle mess that often ends in dead ends for people. And so the reality is there's very few people who check all the boxes, who are able to adjust here in this country lawfully.
A and S recognize that they were lucky.
I think it's important to realize that our experience going from DACA through adjustment of status to green card holders is kind of niche. We have a lot of privileges. Having DACA allows you to do advanced parole. It allows you to have a working history authorized by the U.S. government.
DACA stopped accepting new applicants in 2021, so lots of young people similar to A can't take the same pathway to a green card. The Trump administration has also made it more difficult to use advance parole. There's a new $1,000 fee, which immigrants using advance parole must pay when they re-enter the U.S. There's also the fear that they won't be allowed back in. You can see why the sisters were relieved when their green cards were approved. They've had to live with uncertainty almost their entire lives until now. Here's S.
I do know my dad cried. My mom doesn't cry often. And she didn't cry. But they were so excited. We all gathered at my mom's house that day and we celebrated. We called my grandma. We called some relatives from Mexico. So we just spent that afternoon being together.
S says the most immediate impact of the green card is that she can travel out of the country without advance parole. She and her husband are planning a beach vacation in La Paz, Baja California, in Mexico later this year.
I'm excited. I'm also feel guilty because I feel like my first trip internationally should be to visit my grandma. And so going on my first trip to actually enjoy myself feels like, it doesn't feel right. So there's a lot of mixed emotions, but I'm still very excited to get to see beautiful places. I've always wanted to travel, so this is just one of many.
A is also sorting through the emotions of being a legal permanent resident after living so much of her life without legal status.
I really regret how much of my life choices have been informed by wanting to be a good immigrant. And I wish I would have had more freedom overall. So I don't think you can just take a deep breath after that. It's been 2 decades of this. And I don't know.
A also feels like it's put her behind financially. Here's a list of just some of the costs she's had to pay. $500 every 2 years to renew DACA, $2,000 plus for the green card application, $600 each time she traveled on advance parole. Of course, S paid even more because she hired a lawyer. It's also difficult for the sisters to come to terms with being green card holders when many of their other family members are not. Here's A.
I think that has robbed a lot of the joy from this. Mm-hmm. Where we came here it was us 3 sisters, my mom and an aunt. And I think about all of us at the same time. I just like, it makes me so sad because it feels like, why me and like not you?
Because the sisters have been married to their husbands for less than 2 years, their green cards are still conditional. After 2 years of marriage, they can apply to remove the conditions. Eventually, they'll be able to apply for U.S. citizenship. It's been a long journey, and it isn't over yet.
That was reporter Emily Files. Status Pending is produced by WUWM, Milwaukee's NPR, part of the NPR network. Our team includes
Audrey Nowakowski,
Excaret Nunez,
Emily Files,
Catherine Kokel,
Maria Peralta Arellano,
Valeria Navarro Villegas,
Samia Said,
and me, Jimmy Gutierrez. Music in this episode is by Blue Dot Sessions. Subscribe to the Status Pending podcast for more stories of people in Wisconsin navigating the U.S. immigration system.
Sources and methods, the crown jewels of the intelligence community. Shorthand for how do we know what's real? Who told us? If you have those answers, you're on the inside, and NPR wants to bring you there. From the Pentagon to the State Department to spy agencies, listen to understand what's really happening and what it means for you. Sources and Methods, the new national security podcast from NPR.